Victory to the bloodline. Victory to the Hodd.
So yeah, let's begin. I'm going to be your guide to this horrific and yet beautiful, to me anyways, setting. New game. The scion of an ancient dynasty of daring privateers that reign over the Trade Protectorate and explore the fringes of the known galaxy. Darkness looms over the bloodline of von Valancius as it faces multiple threats from within its own ranks and without, as countless enemies seek to destroy the most daring and brave agents of humanity. It's up to you to hold the reins of this shattered protectorate and forge a new path for the von Valancius dynasty, currently finding itself in a vortex of wars, intrigues, calamities, and heresy. The stakes are high and rise up even higher as you cross paths with terrifyingly powerful and ambitious adversaries in the darkness of the Cronus Expanse. So the Imperium of Man, which is the name of the main human empire of this setting, again, like thousands and thousands of years old, they're a very restrictive society, you could say. I mean, you could say a lot more about the Imperium of Man, but I'll get into that later on. But essentially, you don't have a huge amount of freedom unless you are what's called a rogue trader, which is essentially like a kind of a combination privateer, merchant prince, noble, warrior. They are allowed to have unmatched freedom to do whatever they want. I think I will do this. I mean, you guys don't have to suffer through it. I can just edit some of this part out. Like, if I fail repeatedly at a boss, hey, guess what? I'm the best player ever. I've never died at all. Do you confirm your choice? Yes! I'm a rogue trader. Don't question me. I have my own portrait. I have my concept that I have picked out. So essentially what I want to do, let's check out my dude here, custom portrait. I want to make a Viking king in space, right? Look at this guy. Okay, and he's kind of a character concept I had for my role-playing game days. So, and his family line, his Rogue Trader family line, all that jazz. Together, we're going to expand on his story. This is going to be kind of cool. I'm anxious to do this with you guys. Okay, let's see here. Can I zoom in on this guy? Okay, we got to make a kind of grizzled face here. Let's see here. I think 2. Oh, look, he's actually missing part of his jaw. Ah, that's gnarly. Hair? Oh, you can do the powdered wig. I love it. Oh, look at this. Oh, my lord. Any game where you can be a powdered wig noble? I mean, come on, man. I could do something that's more... a character build that's more like charismatic and like buffs. Because I think that like a buff and like support characters are supposed to be like really necessary for this game. It's not like other games where you can kind of have like a support character, but they also have to have like a tanky or other role. They have to be able to handle themselves, not just be a support. But I think like this game, you can design support characters and it actually works decently enough. I think this is probably the best I'm going to be able to get it, which I'm really excited about, or what I'm really excited about for this hopefully series is that they included Workshop. Hopefully this gets to be a very popular game. And people start like chonking out a bunch of different mods to it. And then beards, yes. Ah, you can have a mighty beard. He has kind of a neat beard. He is a king, right? He has to be presentable. That looks pretty good. If you guys have any suggestions about like what direction you want me to take this character, yeah, just let me know in the comments. Okay, my Viking king. I'm so excited to be playing with this with you guys. Yeah, Viking king. Okay, scars. Yeah, he's a Viking king, so space Viking king. Okay, so what I have in mind for the background for this guy, he was a king. His people were aware of like technology, but they still hold it with like a very spiritual reverence. They wouldn't get into any sort of like fine detail about the technology, right? So the planet is aware of technology. They are attacked one day. The planet is sieged. And most of the population is totally wiped out, right? But they did their duty to the Imperium of Man, right? For their service, the king was elevated to a position of greater power and potentially like rogue trader status. There's more to it than that. I got a complicated backstory. It's brewing in my mind, right? You got any tramp stamps available? No? Okay. I like it. Augmentations. Now, augmentations or cybernetics are pretty common in the Imperium of Man, so it's not that big a deal that he has it. And he does have a reverence for technology. Okay, actually, look. We can do a little bit of a subtle augmentation right there. I like that. Let's see, voice, huh? I think it was Pious.
their demise.
It sounds more Viking-like. I like it. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to get. So I can always, like, respec my guy later on. I think there is a respec guy. On Death Worlds, the plants, beasts, and sometimes even the environment itself takes aggressive and destructive forms inimical to human life. While exceptionally difficult to colonize, many Death Worlds possess valuable resources that require an outpost or other human presence upon the planet's surface to harvest. These harsh environments result in some of the hardiest and most resilient populations in the galaxy. Those tested and found wanting die young. So yeah, I want to do Death World because I have a feeling like the space Viking planet that he was from would be a Death World. It would be very dangerous, full of like Viking axes and cheer and ale and, you know, warrior culture. So yeah, Death World is going to be something I'm going to check out. I'll tell you what this gives you. Once per combat, when the wounds of a Death World character drop below 30%, they gain 20% of their maximum wounds as temporary wounds. Death World characters also gain a plus 20% bonus to dodge and armor while they have at least one temporary wound from any source. That's good. I like that. My guy's going to be specializing. I think I'm going to do dual axe. I've never actually tried like a dual wielder, I think, in some of these isometric games. So I'm pretty sure my guy's going to be like melee, a little bit of charisma, but also like dual wielding, choppy axe, chop. Okay, so strength, agility, fellowship. This is the characteristic modifiers. If you guys don't know what those are, essentially just like any sort of other role-playing game, a little breakdown of like how strong or weak your character is in different aspects of it. Strength, pretty self-explanatory, as well as agility, toughness, intelligence. Fellowship is just kind of like charisma in a lot of other games. Anyways, so the following features will be available after Origin Advancement, so I guess as you level up. Brutal Hunter. Death World characters gain plus 15 critical hit chance against targets with the bleeding effect or with 50% or less of their maximum wounds. Interesting. Trusty Weapons. Death World characters gain plus 10% chance to critically hit with axes, hammers, and las weapons. Good for my guy. If I want to do hammers, I can do hammers. Wounded Beast. Every injury increases the Death World's character's agility and willpower by plus 5%. That's pretty good. So as they're taking damage, getting agility, I remember in the RPG, agility linked to your ability to dodge and avoid combat, and that was like the best way to really mitigate damage. So having a stacking agility bonus, I can only see as, you know, good, really. Lifetime of Scars. Death World characters take toughness bonus, less damage from flame, toxic damage, and bleeding effects. And finally, Tenacity. Once per combat, when a Death World character is suffering from the stunned, blinded, or immobilized condition, this condition is ignored and they instead gain plus 20% temporary wounds to their maximum wounds. I love that. Especially since I'm going into melee. You need something I have a feeling like Warhammer 40,000 is a kind of a ridiculous world where everyone's running into melee. Chopping when there's like guns and, you know, like and atomic bombs flying around and whatnot. But I don't know, it just kind of works in the setting, even if it's kind of ridiculous. But here's the thing, like if this game is, I'm assuming it's not going to be it's not going to penalize you for wanting to be a melee character, but there's always a chance in some games when you make melee, when there's a lot of range firepower, you run in and you get like singled out and you just get trounced. So some of these things will definitely help keep my character alive. I'm definitely going to be doing Death World. That's where our Viking king is from. Okay, now here are the origins, which are essentially classes. Commissar, which I think is what I'm going to pick, are ruthless officers charged with maintaining the morale, discipline, and fighting spirit of their Astra Militarum regiment. You used to be one of these faithful servants of the God Emperor, a living symbol of Imperium authority, regarded with a mix of fear and awe by the subordinates. See, I was thinking about doing this for my Space Viking King, just because, you know, he's kind of more weapon skill, has fellowship, right? Charges in the melee, uses his axes. Take away his helmet. He kind of looks a little, you know, Viking-like. At all costs, the commander's next single shot or single target melee attack applies the following effects. Enemy target becomes marked. Ally who kills the marked enemy gains an additional turn after the current one was plus 2 AP and plus 4 MP. Okay, cool. Ally target. All allies gain an additional plus 1 AP and plus 3 MP for the next round. Interesting. So wait, if you use that on one ally target for next round, once per combat, can only be used once per combat. The commissar themselves can gain bonuses for this ability. That's fine. Characteristic modifiers plus 1, coercion plus 10. Good charisma stuff. athletics, weapon skill, duty, and honor. While the commissar's ally is under the effects of at all costs, that ally suffers 50% damage, plus 50% damage, but gains plus 2 AP, and plus 4 MP instead of plus 1. Okay, interesting. Show them contempt. While the commissar is adjacent to an enemy, all their allies gain resolve. Okay, well, I'm going to be running into melee, so you can see that working out pretty well. Motivation. Anytime the commissar grants an additional movement points to any allied character, they themselves gain plus 2 movement points more. Okay, interesting. Good for me. Summary execution. If the commissar kills the target with at all costs, they can use at all costs once more this combat for 0 AP. Okay, for the Emperor. When momentum is less than 100 points, killing the marked enemy targeting an ally grants plus math momentum. Next. So this is the background of their Viking king, right? Illustrious glory. Your name has become a synonym for loyalty and valor, and your visage has adorned many Imperial Guard propaganda posters. Getting additional coercion. Okay. I'll do coercion a little bit more. The souls of all who perished in a brutal offense still haunts your nightmares and tortures your soul. I think Grim Portents works really well. The king was one of the last survivors of his own planet being destroyed. Warrior. Warriors are combatants boosting exceptional melee powers, capable of dealing high damage in close quarters combat and withstanding heavy amounts of damage. They also excel at drawing enemies' attention from less defended allies. That sounds like my guy. Core focus, melee, movement, and dodge, armor, parry, taunts, and soaking damage. Keystone features, you can charge. I've heard of this. So characteristics. I mean, most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but I'm aware of these based on the pen and paper. Weapon skill, melee weapon attack, ballistic skill, range, strength, toughness, agility, intelligence, pretty self-explanatory. Perception, just seeing things, noticing things. Willpower, how strong your mind is. Fellowship is going to be, your charisma. Okay, so I have 35 points to spend. No, 30 points to spend. I need weapon skill, and I need. Willpower is good just because, the type of guy he is, right? Willpower 35. Is he more tough or is he more willful? I'm going to say he's more willful. Okay, next. Aha! And they actually do the proper measurements. Nice. So this is one of the smaller ships. So the Sword class frigate, there was a giant massive civil war the Imperium had called the Horus Heresy. Near the end of that is where the Sword class frigate actually came into play. They're supposed to be like support craft, even though they're 6 megatons and essentially 26,000 people living on board. 1.6 kilometers in length, 0.3 kilometer beam and fins. Yes, beautiful. I love Imperial ships. But the Sword class frigate generally they operated in like wings. They were really good at defending Imperial interests during that time. And they're fairly, I think, from what I remember, I think they're one of the new-ish classes of frigates. They're very versatile, and they're really good at doing a lot of different missions, right? And they get their name from the little sword tip at the end. I'll ask you guys in the audience, why do you think that the fronts are more armored than the rear? Well, that's because the Imperium doesn't want its ships to be fleeing. They only want to go in one direction towards whatever you want to kill. The Von Valancius' flagship is a Midas Voidship belonging to the Von Valancius dynasty. Every ship aboard this frigate has been tried and tested in innumerable engagements. Its weapons and turrets deliver hard-hitting volleys with pinpoint accuracy. Its plasma drives are rugged yet reliable in extreme conditions. The flagship's size and maneuverability are perfect for pursuing smaller, faster raiders and for hunting countless pirates, Xenos, and heretics in the Cronus Expanse. Numerous rogue traders have acknowledged the exceptional performance of this vessel, and with few minor updates, the flagship has continued to faithfully serve in the Von Valancius dynasty. Okay. The Ice Serpent. Hopefully, they won't be saying, the Ice Serpent. Well, you know what? That might be funnier. Let's move on. Okay. Rogue Trader. Edit name. Yes. I'm not going to be called Rogue Trader. Okay, so here's the thing. He is definitely king, so everyone's going to refer to him as such. So King Yermal, kind of like a Viking name. King Yermal Valancius, but Hodd. In my Warhammer 40,000 role-playing series, I had a group of essentially rogue traders and privateers called the Hodd, and what they essentially were, I won't blab on too much about it, but it was essentially like a organization of like-minded people that got together, a grand organization that kept on absorbing other rogue traders and became more powerful like that. So I'm a member of the Hodd, and you guys We are all the member of the Hodd. This is our dynasty. I'm just letting you know that we're starting the series. I'm starting this, but you guys are starting this all with us. I think I'm happy with this. We're going to be eventually going, if I can't do dual wielding, I'm going to be chop, 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 axe, 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 chop, chop, chop. You understand, King Yormal? Let's do it. Here we go. The king. Members of the Hodd. We may have to... You are all part of the noble family of Hodd. You guys are my family. We're going to take over this dynasty. We'll rebuild our kingdom. We'll make something glorious, I know it. The victory to the Hodd. But Yormal, King Yormal, I should say, he's going to have to rough it for a bit.
One has the best view of the cathedral from here. Mesmerizing, wouldn't you say? An impeccable manifestation.
This guy seems trustworthy. If you have any questions about the lore of like Warhammer 40,000, be sure to let me know, because I'll just go on and on and on about it. The man who has approached you is gazing down on the depths of the vast temple on one of the lower decks. The king is in a little bit of a bad mood. Do you have a particular reason for disturbing me?
My apologies. I did not seek you out to pester you with unwanted attention.
He bows. Okay.
Allow me to introduce myself. Conrad Voidship, Master of Whispers, in the employ of Her Ladyship Rogue Trader Theodora von Valencius, at your service. I haven't had the pleasure of speaking with you in person before.
How do you say his name? Voidship bows his head and focuses his attention on you. Hyperlinks. Okay, so every time we see one of these little hyperlinks, I can click on it for you guys. If I think you guys need a little bit more of a refresher course. My name is King Yormal Valencius Hodd.
My regards, Master. Or should I say, von Valencius, scion of a blessed rogue trader house in the service of the Imperium. Perhaps this kinship came as a shock to you. Understandably so, given that all evidence of the connection was lost in the generations separating you and Lord Captain Theodora. It required no small effort on the part of Her Ladyship's servants to discover and verify this blood tie, which has now made you one of the heirs of this dynasty.
Tell me about the one whose ship I found myself on.
I would rather not discuss the Lord Captain behind her back, especially not on board her ship. No one knows better than I that whispers are wont to attract particularly close attention.
Laughs and shakes his head.
Suffice it to say that Her Ladyship is the bearer of the sacred warrant of trade, and a woman of immense power and entitlement. However privileged your position may be, I ask that you do not incur her anger by being disrespectful or obtuse. Lady Theodora despises both qualities.
Well, okay, so I'm a king. I'll say whatever I want. Warrant of Trade. Essentially, the Warrant of Trade is the sacred relic document that affirms preeminent rights of a rogue trader throughout the galaxy. We're not talking about just like a simple piece of paper. Generally, they're like giant scrolls that are like, have like parts of technology and circuitry woven into them. They have like things to verify your blood by like the little pinprick. Stuff like that. They're pretty cool. You have a curious title, Master of Whispers. What are your responsibilities? What a little worm. The king does not trust this guy.
I am the head of the network of spies and informers who serve the interests of House von Valencius. I uncover weak links both among Lady Theodora's retinue and in the ranks of her rivals. I eliminate our vulnerabilities and exploit those of others.
You say that I'm one of the rogue trader's heirs, so there's another candidate?
There is. And you will meet him soon enough.
So let's address why you came here to seek me.
But of course, I have come to invite you to a meeting with Lady Theodora. I imagine you have many questions for your patroness. I'm sure she has just as many questions for you. It is regrettable that you haven't yet had an opportunity to speak. It has been an arduous voyage thus far, The Lord's captain and Master Edelthrad von Valencius are conversing on the observation platform. Let us join them there.
I suppose. Save game. Let's see here. The king speaks. Okay. Yeah, look at this. So yeah, this is just like one small building on that giant ship that I showed you. Once we actually absorb them into the Hodd, then they'll be our family. But until then, deck enforcer. I don't speak to peasants unless I have a reason to.
One of the von Valencius trophy rooms. Perhaps you would like to take
Beautiful.
a look around after your
Remember,
audience with the Lord Captain.
we Hodd have great respect for technology.
What's happening?
Except now. You dare attack a king? Machine. Put you in your place. Okay, human damage. The battle begins. Okay, complete. Okay, what do we got? Start the battle. Sure. Pew pew. These guys. Oh my lord, he just cracked open these guys. Moving in combats. Okay. Okay, so I'll move here. I can actually shoot. So I see number one.
Let my enemies tremble.
I missed my axe. Action points. To make attacks and abilities use of attacks and abilities in combat, character must spend action points or AP. Every attack or ability has a certain AP cost associated with it. The number of squares next to the icons of an attack, actions, on other abilities indicates their AP cost. Start of the character's turn, their AP are restored to their maximum value. Okay, I kind of got, just the basic rundown of this game so far. At all cost. Okay, so it's once per combat. I can still do it. I'm a king. I'll shoot whoever I want. Attack of opportunity. Characters with melee weapons can make attack of opportunity if an opponent adjacent cell initiates movement. It can also be triggered by some abilities. All creatures with melee weapons, including members of your party, can make attack of opportunity. Chance to hit and deal damage are calculated just like a normal attack. Okay, let's pew pew. Pew 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 pew. Yeah. I'm a big man. I can scarcely believe it.
Suspiciously poor timing for such an accident. Servitors malfunction on the officer's deck at exactly the same moment when the rogue trader and her heirs are gathered here. I have blocked all passages between the upper and lower sectors of the residential decks. If this is a deliberate attack, it should stop the culprits from advancing their plan.
Without taking his eyes off the bodies on the floor, Voidship removes the Voxcaster from his belt. Voxcaster, so essentially a piece of technology used to communicate over short distances or to record sound. Just more or less like radio. They come in a variety of different forms. From his belt and speaks a few quick orders into the device. Spread out. No one is allowed to enter the premises. Stations.
I'm afraid I must remain here. For Lady Theodora's safety, I have to oversee the execution of these orders personally. I hope you will have no difficulty reaching the observation platform on your own. It is just at the end of this corridor.
Tech priest. Beneath my notice. Maybe the king's opinion on lesser people will change as we progress in the story. It could be character building, you never know. That is simply irrational, Lady Theodora, says the man dressed in particular garb, his voice tight with tension. His face, half of which has been covered by synth skin, is twisted in a grimace of displeasure and disbelief. Assimilation into the trade structure would be political and economic suicide, practically an admission of heresy. The tall, gray-haired woman pins him with her gaze, her cybernetic eye flashing crimson. Then suggest an alternative that will satisfy me. I have described the situation no worse than my seneschal could have done. Make a decision. What will you do if, with Ion 6, Edelthrad? I'm here to speak with the Lord Captain. Edelthrad. What is this? Ethelthred turns to you and regards you with indignation. This is someone from your retinue. Theodora, do you permit your people to interrupt your conversation in such a fashion? Know your place. I'm King Yarmal, the Valencius Hodd. Theodora, I give that permission to those who have with something of substance to say. Let us see if it was worth it. Theodora tilts her head, her lips stretched into a cold smile. This is King Yarmal Valencius Hodd, the second candidate for my title of successor. The rogue trader regards you with a look that is imperious, predatory, and oppressive. Step forward, King Yarmal Valencius Hodd. I don't like following orders, but we lost our planet. We have to go along with this until we can get power once again. We got passive skill test. We know a little bit about aliens, so we have some more dialogue options. Consider this hypothetical situation. Aeon 6, a new world on the fringes of the Cronus Expanse. High seismic activity, regular magma eruptions, metamorphic rock deposits, prospects for large-scale mining. The world is populated by natives who worship some heretical underworld spirits that protect those who offer them sacrifices. Flights of fancy, you might say, but attempts to install ore extractors have failed for the second time. The mining crews sent to the planet's surface simply vanished overnight. My question to you, what would you do with this poisoned treasure? Dangerous aliens might be in the crowd. We should see if that is the case, if they are worshipping those aliens, but it seems like too much of a valuable treasure to just discard. Theodore arches an eyebrow. Reasonable and prudent. However, chasing after ethereal creatures may prove a rather long and fruitless endeavor. Ethelthred scoffs. Apart from Xenos, an untrodden planet might be teeming with myriad horrors that are far more dangerous and difficult to eradicate. I suspect that you, King Yarmal Valencius Hodd, are simply unaware of the existence. Watch your tone with me. Do you know who you're speaking to? I gave a straight answer to your simple question, which is how I understand was more than you can do, Ethelthred. Actually, I'll just say that. The color drains from Ethelthred's face, which distorts his features further. Insolent upstart, how dare you? He's cruising for a bruise, and if he keeps this up. Ethelthred, Theodore's tone remains silent. I believe I gave you an assignment on this ship. Explain to me, then, why my senior cogitator is still dawdling about the officer deck instead of proceeding to middle decks to commence the inspection of the compartments in his purview. Be gone from my sight. Then she turns to you. So, King Yarmal Valencius Hodd, why are you here? There are questions I wish to have answered. You're direct, I approve, but you'll have to wait. There's something I want you to understand first. My name is Theodora von Valencius Massimo of Scaris. I am a rogue trader in the service of the God Emperor of humanity, and my rights and freedoms are vindicated by the most sacred relic, the Warrant of Trade, kept aboard this very vessel. Mine is the honor to venture into the darkness beyond the Imperium and carry humanity's light, where the powers wicked and heretical reign and bode death and ruin to us all. Scaris, the Scaris sector, if any of you guys have are familiar with the Eisenhorn, Ravener, and Beckwin series of books in Warhammer 40,000, I think that's the home sector. It is my decision to determine the fate of whatever I find past the borders of the unexplored void, every world I discover, along with what all there is to find therein. Resources, people, riches, and mysteries is mine by right. It'll soon be ours. It'll be ours, Hodd brothers and Hodd sisters. I command millions of lives, rule over numerous planets, and possess forces no planetary governor or commander could ever dream of amassing. And you, King Yarmal Valencius Hodd, are one of those with the von Valencius blood in their veins, and a rightful claim to this inheritance when the hour comes. And it might be sooner than you think, milady. I'm ready to take on the sacred purpose. I don't need to see the other ones. Oh, you would be, wouldn't you? The question is, am I ready to choose you over the rest? You came aboard hours before the warp jump. I have not yet distinguished yourself in any way. I lost my planet, man. As things currently stand, I have doubts that you're suitable for a role of rogue trader. If she wants to insult us, we'll just have to take it for now. Blood right alone is not enough to earn the high honor of becoming the bearer of the Warrant of Trade. Nonetheless, your abilities and talents may prove useful, if not for the role of captain, then for that of the closest ally. Theodore sighs and looks away pensively for a brief moment. Alas, even those responsibilities can at times be too challenging for those who share your blood. Conrad Vortfair served me for many years before he made his mistake. One of? Does that mean there are other heirs? Naturally. Some of them yet to arrive on board, but you've had the pleasure of meeting one of them. Ethelthred may be somewhat disconcerted by the scale of the responsibilities that may potentially fall upon her shoulders. However, I have good feelings about him as candidate. Thank you for clarifying. I am not going to ask questions now, aside from what next.